It's day one of fall camp. Ohio State football is back. Welcome in to Buckeye Cadence, the heartbeat of Ohio State athletics. My name is Blake Biscardi. Grant Kincaid joining today. Grant, here we go, man. We had day one. You were there live and in person at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, Ohio State Open Fall Camp today. That means the 2026 season is here. And Grant, we got to talk about it. What did we see today? It looks like Ohio State's on Baywatch right now, and that is as in Legend Bay. Legend Bay notably absent from practice today because of a violation of team rules, according to Ryan Day. So, Grant, Ohio State football is back. You walked in to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center this morning. You got to see Ohio State football, sights, sounds. Tell us what you saw, and then we'll get right into Legend Bay.
Well, as soon as you walk in, thousands of fans, all kinds of people right at the entrance because the players come out kind of tunnel style from the indoor to the outdoor field. So, every player that comes out, there's little kids yelling, take a picture, take a selfie, give me an autograph. Qua Russaw comes running out. He's number 4. Every kid yells, Jeremiah, Jeremiah. And he's just like, no, I'm not Jeremiah Smith. So that was a funny little way to start training camp. Walk in and all these kids are clamoring over a transfer who they probably have no clue who he is. But right there, that's what this day one of camp is all about. It's a celebration of Ohio State football getting started. And then you get into the nitty gritty. Drills started right away, and they split into 2 teams, and from there on, lots of football.
Yeah, kids learn numbers before they learn names. So,
Yeah.
again, it's like when we walked in the spring, you get handed a roster sheet and you need it because there's 51 new faces. And those 51 new faces are still 51 new faces because they've not actually played a snap as an official Ohio State Buckeye. They've just gotten to wear their jerseys. Some have their black stripes removed. Others came in as a transfer. And, again, it's that same process. So, again, Qua Russaw, Jeremiah Smith. We'll have to do a face-to-face and see if the comp was there because we know Jeremiah Smith is freakishly strong. The size and stature and physique, I would assume to be different. From what we've seen, anyway.
Yeah.
But again, we love kids. So, Grant, Legend Bay, he was not at practice today, man. The kids enjoy Ohio State football. That's what it's all about, man. You're going there with your dad. You're going there with your uncle, your brother, your sister, your family. That's why it's a legacy thing. That's why we say, like, we love having the kids there because it's awesome. Like, that's what it's about. They get to go see with dad, with mom, with their brother and say, hey, we're taking in Ohio State football right now. This is fall camp, and then they get to take him to the horseshoe for the first time. Those memories, they're core memories. You remember that.
Absolutely.
What's really cool, like when we were growing up, we weren't able to go see fall camp, and now the kids are able to go ahead and see fall camp and get a look at practice. What does that look like? You always wonder. It's like, man, this is what we see as the on-field product, but now you get to go watch it in the practice field. Like, that's pretty cool because not a lot of people get to see that. And yes, you have to buy a ticket, but it's a unique experience and something that you're not going to forget. But again, back to Legend Bay here, Grant. What was the vibe around the facility when it was noticed that Legend Bay would not be there? Because that was not something that we had known, publicly before Ohio State took the field today.
Well, it was, halfway through the drills and everything, you start to hear the murmurings. Everyone's like, where is Legend Bay? We've heard about him. We saw him all spring. We've heard about him making such a big impact. And there's no number 2 anywhere on either side of the field. So then people, really started to wonder, why would that, of all people, why would he be the guy that's not here? And then obviously, when Day gets interviewed after practice, first question out, what's the situation with Legend Bay? He puts it bluntly, he violated team rules. He's got to mature. He's working on that. He will not be at practice. Zip zilch. It's all he gave us. We don't know how long he's going to be out. We don't know what he did to earn this punishment. But he wasn't there to start fall camp. So something's definitely going on with Legend Bay. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of where that situation goes and what does come out.
And running back is a really important position for Ohio State this year. And again, Legend Bay was not going to be RB1, but he was projected to get on the field. He's projected to see some special packages. He can also play wide receiver. It's not just about running back. But again, we'll monitor how long that it is for Legend Bay that he is out because of violating team rules. But Grant, even going off into the running back room right now, Isaiah West has gotten a lot of buzz. Now we know Bo Jackson is projected to be the workhorse back, but Isaiah West is going to be right there alongside him. Ryan Day was talking about the importance of when Ohio State historically has made a run deep into the postseason, won national titles. He mentioned Ezekiel Elliott. He mentioned Quinshon Judkins. He mentioned TreVeon Henderson. Can Bo Jackson or Isaiah West or one of the Ohio State running backs step into that role and really take over a game? So what do you see from the running backs today between Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, and the rest of that room?
I saw them very much in a split back role. Actually, one was on each field, so you could tell that Day and Smith were making sure that they got equal reps and were able to get the kind of same feel during practice today. That was good to see that both of those guys were healthy and full go and looked explosive for sure. I know Isaiah West, I saw on a number of plays swinging out on a lot of routes. So it looks like you might see a lot more running backs in the flat here, kind of stretching out the offense, which is something that I think with Legend Bay they had that in mind as well to be able to stretch out the defense and take advantage of that running game. But both backs look good. Peyton Pierce mentioned, how explosive they both are, how you'll be in one gap and then they disappear to the other gap. And, they're really shifty guys. They've both gained, I think, at least 10 pounds. I know Coach Locke was really big on that. And Day wants them to be able to, once they get into that second level, break those tackles, and have that breakaway speed to be able to have those runs that TreVeon Henderson and Zeke Elliott and others have had that completely changed the dynamic of the offense and the game for Ohio State.
And we talked about that in our articles that were put out this week, right? As we're looking at, okay, what's this Ohio State offense going to look like going into 2026, into the fall, the Arthur Smith effect here, what we expect out of Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, Legend Bay, and company there. And it was mentioned too, like, we do think that we're going to see the running backs used in the passing game a lot more, swinging out of the backfield. And that is going to be something that's a layer and a wrinkle into Ohio State's offense because they have a lot of threats at wide receiver that can clear out the defense. And you can remove some of the safety, some of the corners, maybe even pull a linebacker out of there and leave some room for a running back to have some space to work underneath, or even a tight end for that matter. So again, just things that we're going to watch, little nuances in the Ohio State offense that we're going to monitor. This is only day one, so there's going to be more tomorrow. Again, Grant, you'll be there. But on the other side of the ball, Grant, let's flip defense real quick. Ohio State lost a lot of production on defense. We know the top 4 guys that left were top 11 NFL draft picks. And when we say they lost a lot of production, we also have to look at what they lost in terms of pass rush and getting to the quarterback. And for Ohio State, I think one of the biggest questions, despite all the talent that they've accumulated and brought in to Columbus this year, I think one of the biggest questions of this entire team is, yes, the offensive line, but the second one is, how are they going to get to the quarterback? Are they going to be able to do that with 4? Do they need 5? What's going to be the way that Ohio State can be effective in disrupting the offense, getting them off schedule, and then making quarterbacks' lives miserable? So today, this was something that you noticed we talked about off air, so now it's time to share it with the world. Kenyatta Jackson is back, and he's the big name. We know he is going to have a big season, but who else really is there that you saw today? Do you think this is going to be an area of concern for Ohio State? I know it's only day one, so you don't want to overreact, but you do have to share what you saw just on day one. So Ohio State's edge rusher situation, Grant, what was that like today in camp? Who were the guys that stood out to you? What were the combinations like? What did you notice here with that defensive line?
Well, what I noticed is they were trying a lot of different combinations on the outside. It looks like James Smith, John Walker, and a combination of Edric Houston moving in and out. That's going to be most of the interior. But you have Beau Atkinson coming back, who wasn't quite as productive as most people thought he would be last year. So there's a question mark there. Zion Grady and Sitanilei, 2 guys that are do not have the experience. I think combined they've appeared in 15 games because they were both freshmen. So there's just a lot of unknown there because you have Qua Russaw, who came over from Alabama, but he played more of that linebacker role, that wolfback role, I think they called him at Alabama. So he's going to be transitioning into, a brand new role and position pretty much. So you don't know how exactly he will pan out as an edge rusher. So right there you have, four guys under Kenyatta Jackson that, yeah, you can see the possibility and the potential. But you don't right now. We don't know who that number two guy is. We don't know who's going to be opposite of Kenyatta, taking that pressure off of him to rush the passer. So that's going to be a storyline to watch for sure up until Texas.
Let's flip this right now. Go to the offensive line. This is the biggest question. You're probably like, why'd you wait 10 minutes to get into the offensive line? Well, we've got a flow in the show. But for the offensive line here, Grant, again, Austin Sarabelt inside outside. We've talked about this before, but what did you see today from Ohio State's offensive line? Because we heard Ryan Day say, and again, you could assume this too based on history and how they've done things before, is they're going to try different combinations, different things. So we're going to see different versions of this Ohio State offensive line each day of fall camp that we're able to, and then they'll continue to do it without us in the building. But today's version on day one is Thursday. What did you see from the offensive line today?
I saw, right away they put out there, what you would project to be the starting offensive line. Obviously, four of the spots are pretty easy to spot as far as who's going to be starting there. But it's another thing that Ryan Day was very forward about. They want to figure that out as soon as possible. They want to try different combinations. They want to move guys in and out and see if something works better. So what happens in camp today isn't necessarily what's going to end up by the time the season starts with the line. Um, but you also, as soon as practice started, they went to individual drills. And you could see the O line with Bowen, very hands on, very active. He was repeating the same thing. I want you guys in a cage. I want you in a cage. He wants those one-on-one matchups to mean something to the guys. So when they're working through technique drills, he's in their ear the whole time. And then they split off to a lot of blitz recognition, identification drills, which obviously after the last two games of the season in 2025, that's something that was pretty glaring with the offensive line struggling with. So it's good to see from day one they're saying, hey, we know exactly what we need to work on. We know exactly what needs to be shored up on this team and on this offense, and they're going to address it head on. And this is a huge year, obviously, for Ohio State and the coaching staff, but for Tyler Bowen in general. This is his year to prove that he was worth the hire, that he was worth the paycheck, because he has the experience now, he has the depth. Now he needs to prove that he can put a line together that is going to be much improved from last year.
Yeah, I think Tyler Bowen, you said it right, this is his year to prove it. And he has the talent to do it. He's got the experience up front to do it, most importantly, there. So how that all pans out for Ohio State is, again, this is the major storyline because this is where the ceiling of that team is going to be determined by Tyler Bowen's room in that offensive line unit, barring a massive injury somewhere. But, Grant, we want to talk to, again, we'll move on from the offensive line because the offensive line has to maul people this year. They have to be able to take over games. Just like they talked about with the running backs, you got to be able to take over the games. But do you think there's someone in the secondary that can take over games? Devin Sanchez has gotten a ton of buzz. Jay Timmons, as a young true freshman, is also getting buzz, which we've been on him on that train for months since the spring. And then Dominic Kelly, the transfer from Georgia, Grant. What did you see out of those three guys particularly today? Anything flashing from them? Because they're the three big names to watch here. Obviously, Earl Little has been talked about a ton on the show. But today, let's just focus on Devin Sanchez, Jay Timmons, and Dominic Kelly, what you saw from them.
Well, Devin Sanchez he's definitely that leader in the secondary. He got interviewed after the game. That'll be up on our YouTube very soon. Very confident guy, very well spoken, and very sure of him, like his abilities and his teammates' abilities. He spoke highly of both of those guys, Timmons and Dom Kelly. And they all flashed at practice. You saw all three of those guys out wide, matching up against Chris Henry, Jeremiah Smith, Kyle Parker, so on and so forth. They got all the best reps against the best receivers. I think it's a good sign to see that, especially Jay Timmons, like we've talked about. being able to come up through the ranks at such a young age and fill in a role that, until he came into the fold, it was Dom Kelly, maybe Cam Calhoun, and both of those guys were question marks. But now all of a sudden, there's a lot of depth in the secondary because of those three guys. And Dom Kelly, a really agile guy, some good length. He was able to cover Chris Henry pretty well on the reps that I saw, and obviously Chris Henry, very tall dude, lengthy dude. And Jay Timmons, lots of agility, like tape, like glue on guys. He's able to stay with anyone, even if he isn't the biggest guy in the world. He's going to serve very, very well in the backfield or in the secondary for Ohio State. So between those guys and then the safeties we have and brought in, I think the secondary is in really good hands right now.
Devin Sanchez seemed really confident when he was talking. It's not from a sense of arrogance. It's just a sense of belief
Yes.
in, one, his ability, and then also his teammates' ability, because he said it's pretty tough going against Jeremiah Smith
Yeah.
in practice every single day. But also at the same time, the flip side of that is it prepares you to go against any receiver in the country because you're practicing opposite the best receiver in the country. And when he was asked about the schedule and how he looks at it, so many big games, Grant, on the Buckeye schedule this year. It's like, how do you see that schedule? I see Cam Coleman week 2. I see Charlie Becker with Indiana.
Evan Stewart,
Stewart with Oregon, and the list just continues to go down because he knows he's going to be asked to cover their wide receiver one in those matchups, and it's going to be on him. He had some games, he said last year, he was playing 70 snaps, and then some games where he was playing 8. And it was like a roller coaster at times for Devin Sanchez last year. There was a time where he was the fish. There was times where he was locked down. But this year, he has been challenged in the offseason. He's been working hard with Jeremiah Smith, and he's becoming a leader on that defense. So excited to see what his potential can become this year. But Grant, before we close this recap of day 1 of fall camp today, what are your closing thoughts? Anything else that you want to add today before we wrap it up?
Just that, it's such an exhale for football to finally be here. Yes, it's 88 degrees. I felt the full brunt of that this morning, no doubt. But helmets on, pads are on, guys are hitting each other, coaches are screaming at the top of their lungs, and Ohio State football is back in full swing, and it's great to say that, and it's great to, see guys out on the field that we've been speculating about and position groups that we've been talking about. We're going to get to see finally what this team can do, and it's going to be exciting to see them walk through the schedule.
It is, and we're going to be there every step of the way as a Silver Bulletin. So make sure you're staying tuned to all of our coverage, tsilverbulletin.com for all of our written work. At Buckeye Cadence, make sure that is the platform that you are getting all of your podcasts. So if it's on YouTube, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify, make sure that you're liking and subscribing to the show. Also following it, leaving it a review, and then subscribing to the Silver Bulletin on YouTube. Plenty of content going to be there, player interviews, coaches interviews, and then again, all of our recaps and shows are posted there. And then all of our social media handles at @TSilverBulletin. So again, we're going to be there every step of the way with you guys throughout fall camp and throughout this Ohio State football season for 2026. For Grant Kincaid, I am Blake Biscardi. We will see you next time. God bless.